world where old alliances crumble, where nations once chained to Western dictates carve out their independence, and where the balance of power is no longer decided in Washington, London, or Brussels, but in Beijing and Islamabad. This is not speculation, not theory. It is happening right now, and Pakistan stands at the very center of this historic transformation. Pakistan's adoption of Chinese fighter jets and missile systems represents more than just a tactical decision. It is a strategic military shift that carries weighty implications on regional and global levels. For decades, Pakistan's defense posture was heavily influenced by Western technologies, training, and doctrine, particularly through US and NATO-aligned equipment. This reliance, however, often came with strings attached: political conditions, restrictions on upgrades, and vulnerability to sanctions. The shift toward Chinese military hardware marks a deliberate move away from that dependency, showing Pakistan's resolve to redefine its sovereignty in defense choices. The JF-17 Thunder program, for instance, symbolizes this transition. Co-developed with China, it allows Pakistan not only to field a modern multi-role fighter at a fraction of the cost of Western jets, but also to maintain operational independence. Western experts note that the strategic dimension here is profound. Instead of being a customer tied to Western suppliers, Pakistan becomes a partner in a defense collaboration where it has greater control and flexibility. When combined with the integration of Chinese missile systems, ranging from short-range air-to-air missiles to long-range precision strike capabilities, this signals that Pakistan is not merely filling gaps in its arsenal, but building a comprehensive future-ready force structure. Such a shift challenges traditional balance of power calculations in South Asia. For the West, it represents a concerning precedent where a state once reliant on NATO pipelines is now aligning its capabilities with a rival bloc. Beyond the hardware, the symbolism is equally important. By embedding Chinese systems into its military, Pakistan demonstrates trust in Beijing as a long-term strategic partner, one that is ready to support it without the restrictions that often come with Western alliances. Analysts argue that this military pivot also reflects a geopolitical reality. As the US tilts closer to India, Pakistan's defense needs are increasingly fulfilled by China, cementing a partnership that goes beyond procurement into co-production, research, and even doctrine sharing. In short, this strategic military shift is not about buying jets and missiles. It is about reshaping alliances, signaling independence from Western dictates, and preparing for a future where global military power is no longer defined solely by the West. Western expert concerns over Pakistan's integration of Chinese jets and missiles are rooted in a deep awareness of how quickly such advancements can shift the balance of power in a sensitive region. For decades, South Asia has been viewed by Western defense analysts as a fragile equilibrium, where India's conventional superiority has often been seen as a counterweight to Pakistan's nuclear capability. But the equation begins to change when Pakistan suddenly gains access to advanced, affordable, and adaptable Chinese platforms that can narrow the conventional gap. The JF-17 Thunder, especially in its later Block 3 versions, has been integrated with cutting-edge radar systems, electronic warfare capabilities, and beyond visual range missiles that rival even those on some Western fighters. To Western experts, this is more than an incremental improvement. It means that Pakistan can effectively defend its airspace and challenge adversaries without depending on outdated fleets or waiting on Western approvals for upgrades. What troubles them further is the fact that this integration is not limited to airframes, but extends to missiles that can strike with precision across the region. Western analysts warn that this could embolden Pakistan in conflicts, reduce deterrence thresholds, and complicate the strategic calculus of powers that previously viewed Pakistan's air capabilities as outdated. At a broader level, Western experts also see this as part of China's playbook to strengthen its allies in regions where Western influence is shrinking. By enabling Pakistan to move away from reliance on US F-16s, which are heavily sanctioned and politically tied, Beijing creates a partner whose military systems are tightly integrated into its own ecosystem. This worries Western policymakers because once such integration reaches a critical mass, it becomes irreversible. Pakistan's supply chains, training, and tactical doctrines will increasingly align with China. That kind of shift doesn't just change how Pakistan fights wars. It changes whom it listens to, whom it relies upon, and ultimately whom it stands beside on the global stage. For the West, the concern is not only military in nature, but geopolitical. A Pakistan that operates Chinese systems seamlessly becomes part of a larger architecture of resistance against Western dominance, and that is what makes this integration a red flag. The cost-effectiveness and accessibility of Chinese jets and missile systems present another angle that deeply unsettles Western defense experts. Traditionally, advanced weaponry has been the preserve of nations with vast defense budgets, as Western platforms like the F-35 or Eurofighter Typhoon come with exorbitant price tags that countries like Pakistan could not realistically sustain. But China's model disrupts this equation by offering high-performance systems at a fraction of the cost, along with favorable financing and technology sharing agreements. For Pakistan, this means access to advanced capabilities without the crippling financial burden that often accompanies Western equipment. The JF-17 program is the clearest example. For the cost of maintaining a handful of Western fighters, Pakistan can produce and operate entire squadrons of modern jets that are capable of standing toe-to-toe with regional rivals. The affordability factor is not just about money, it translates into numbers, flexibility, and resilience. Pakistan can afford to field more aircraft, train more pilots, and maintain operational readiness in a way that was not possible under Western reliance. Western experts see this as a major game changer because it lowers the entry barrier to modern warfare, enabling Pakistan to maintain a credible deterrent without collapsing under economic strain. Moreover, accessibility also extends to the ease of procurement. While Western systems are often bound by lengthy approval processes, political negotiations, and the ever-present threat of sanctions, Chinese systems are delivered without such restrictions, allowing Pakistan to rapidly modernize its arsenal. For the West, this creates a disturbing precedent. Other countries frustrated with Western strings may follow Pakistan's example, turning to China for cheaper, faster, and politically unconditional solutions. Analysts argue that if Pakistan can field a competent air force and missile arsenal at a fraction of the Western cost, it sends a message across the developing world that China, not the West, is the future supplier of choice. This is not merely a question of affordability, but of accessibility, flexibility, and long-term independence from Western dictates. To Western observers, the affordability of Chinese systems undermines decades of military economic leverage that Western suppliers once had, and that loss of leverage is as threatening as the hardware itself. Technology transfer and customization stand out as one of the most transformative aspects of Pakistan's integration of Chinese jets and missile systems, and it is a dimension that Western experts watch with particular unease. Unlike Western suppliers, who often sell their military hardware as finished products with limited room for modification, China has adopted a very different approach, an approach that involves co-production, joint development, and the willingness to share critical technologies. The JF-17 Thunder program illustrates this vividly. Rather than being just a buyer, Pakistan is a partner, with the ability to co-produce the aircraft at its own facilities, integrate systems suited to its operational needs, and gradually expand domestic technical expertise. This access allows Pakistan to build an aerospace industry that is not only capable of maintaining the jets but also of innovating on top of them. Western experts point out that this represents a structural shift because once a country develops the ability to manufacture and adapt its systems, it reduces dependence on foreign suppliers. That independence translates into strategic autonomy. Pakistan can choose how to arm its jets, how to upgrade its radars, and how to adapt its missiles without waiting for approval from Washington or European capitals. Customization also extends to the missiles and weapon packages that Pakistan incorporates into its platforms. China's willingness to let Pakistan experiment with different configurations allows it to adapt its arsenal to specific regional threats, whether that means precision-guided munitions for deterrence against India or advanced electronic warfare suites for countering modern adversaries. Western experts see this as a force multiplier because it gives Pakistan not just a weapon, but the means to mold that weapon into a system uniquely optimized for its geography and security challenges. In their view, this is the real danger. When a nation like Pakistan gains both the hardware and the know-how to improve it, it takes a leap forward in military independence. That leap is difficult to reverse, and it puts Pakistan firmly in the camp of nations that can innovate outside the boundaries of Western oversight. Beyond the immediate military benefits, analysts argue that such technology transfer could ripple outward, strengthening Pakistan's defense industry as a whole, giving it the skills, infrastructure, and confidence to expand beyond aviation into other advanced defense domains. This is why Western experts consistently warn that technology transfer and customization are not mere add-ons. They are the heart of a new defense ecosystem that could shift long-term power dynamics in the region. The regional implications of Pakistan's integration of Chinese jets and missile systems are among the most hotly debated issues in Western defense circles because they strike at the core of South Asia's fragile balance of power. For decades, India has maintained a numerical and qualitative edge in conventional air power, reinforced by its access to both Russian and Western platforms like the Sukhoi Su-30s, Mirage 2000s, and Rafales. Pakistan, on the other hand, has relied heavily on aging fleets and limited Western support, with its F-16s often constrained by restrictions on upgrades and spare parts. The introduction of Chinese jets like the JF-17 Block III, equipped with advanced radars, electronic warfare capabilities, and long-range air-to-air missiles, significantly narrows this gap, giving Pakistan the confidence to contest India's air superiority. Western experts recognize this shift as a catalyst that could intensify the military rivalry between the two nuclear-armed neighbors. It raises concerns that the deterrence threshold, already low due to historic hostility, may erode further as both sides push to assert dominance. Beyond the direct Pakistan-India rivalry, the regional implications extend to the broader China-Pakistan relationship, which Western analysts often refer to as an iron brotherhood. The integration of military systems deepens this bond, ensuring that Pakistan is not just a buyer, but a long-term strategic partner tied into China's defense ecosystem. This creates ripple effects across South Asia and beyond. Countries like Bangladesh, Myanmar, and even Middle Eastern states observe this cooperation as a potential model for affordable, advanced military modernization outside Western control. To the West, this is troubling because it suggests the rise of a parallel security network built around Chinese defense exports and partnerships, directly competing with NATO-aligned influence. Moreover, the presence of Chinese systems in Pakistan raises the specter of joint doctrines, joint exercises, and even the possibility of Chinese advisors playing an expanded role in Pakistan's defense planning. That, in turn, introduces a new layer of complexity for India and Western powers seeking to engage with the region. as they must now consider not just Pakistan's own capabilities, but also China's potential involvement behind the scenes. Western experts warned that these dynamics could trigger an arms race, with India doubling down on expensive Western systems like the Rafale or American F-21s to counterbalance Pakistan's modernization, thereby escalating costs, tensions, and risks of miscalculation. Global power projection is one of the most pressing concerns Western experts raise when analyzing Pakistan's integration of Chinese jets and missile systems, because it transcends the narrow lens of bilateral defense cooperation and situates the issue within the broader contest for global influence. At first glance, Pakistan acquiring Chinese jets like the JF-17 or long-range missile systems might seem like a regional story confined to South Asia, but analysts in Washington, London, and Brussels see it differently. They view it as part of China's long-term plan to reshape the global defense landscape by building a coalition of partners who are not only military customers, but strategic allies embedded within its technological and logistical ecosystem. By equipping Pakistan with cost-effective yet advanced systems, China extends its reach far beyond its borders, using Pakistan as both a showcase and a foothold for its ambitions. For Western experts, this represents a significant erosion of the West's monopoly on defense influence, particularly in regions where political tensions or budget constraints make Western systems impractical. Pakistan, by integrating Chinese platforms seamlessly into its air force and missile arsenal, becomes living proof that Chinese technology is not only viable, but also battle-ready. That message resonates across the developing world, from Africa to the Middle East, where many nations have long struggled to keep up with the prohibitive costs and political strings of Western arms. What worries Western strategists even more is that such integration makes Chinese influence sticky and difficult to undo. Once a country like Pakistan trains its pilots on Chinese jets, builds its logistics chains around Chinese spare parts, and develops its doctrines around Chinese systems, reversing course becomes nearly impossible. That locks Pakistan into China's orbit for decades, ensuring long-term alignment in both military and political affairs. In this sense, Western experts see Pakistan not just as a buyer, but as a node in a growing global network of states linked to Beijing through defense ties. This network undermines traditional Western defense alliances and weakens the ability of organizations like NATO to exert global influence. The geopolitical implications are stark. If China can build and maintain a coalition of states like Pakistan that rely on its military technology, it can challenge Western dominance not only economically, but militarily. Western experts consistently highlight that Pakistan's growing integration of Chinese jets and missiles is not simply a matter of procurement, but part of a larger geopolitical story in which China is deliberately using defense partnerships to expand its global reach and create alternative poles of power. For Western analysts, the concern is that the deepening of Pakistan-China defense ties fits neatly into Beijing's broader ambition of constructing a parallel world order where countries frustrated with Western constraints can find not only economic support through initiatives like the Belt and Road, but also military strength through Chinese hardware. Western experts argue that China's approach is strategic in its generosity. It not only supplies weapons but offers co-production, financing options, and technology sharing that empower partners like Pakistan to build self-reliance. This differs sharply from Western practices, where even close allies often face export controls and restrictions. As a result, nations observing Pakistan's experience see the benefits of aligning with China as a defense partner that respects sovereignty and delivers affordable results. For the West, this is alarming because it represents a trend that can spread far beyond South Asia. If more nations choose the Chinese model, Western defense influence will shrink, and with it, the ability to shape global security outcomes through arms diplomacy. Pakistan's integration of Chinese systems is therefore not just a regional challenge, but a global signal. It shows that the military world is no longer unipolar, that the monopoly of Western systems is eroding, and that alternative supply chains are emerging with increasing legitimacy. For Western analysts, the danger is not only that Pakistan becomes stronger or more independent, but that it becomes an example others are willing to follow. In their eyes, this integration is a chapter in China's long-term strategy to rewire global defense relationships, and Pakistan's role as a willing partner makes the shift both credible and consequential. Pakistan's integration of Chinese jets and missiles is not just a defense upgrade, it is a declaration that the balance of power in South Asia and beyond is changing forever.